I guess most of you have joined in, so we'll start, I guess. Good afternoon, one and all present here. Welcome to MozNUV second meetup. I hope you all are happy and safe. I'm your host, Nimit Sawant from F5 BTech CSE. So, as you guys know, this meetup presents two talks today. First by Praneeth on open source development on Git and GitHub, and second by Vineet on design and UX UI. Also, we have something more we want to introduce to you after the talk, so stay tuned. Also, if anyone has doubts regarding the talk or anything, please type in the text section. We'll address them after the talk. Hmm. So let's start with the first talk. Praneeth, handing the mic over to you.
Hello everyone.
Hello, Praneeth.
Yeah, yeah, I'm presenting here. Yeah, is my screen visible to you all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, hello everyone. First of all, thank you, MozNUV, for uh, letting me here on your second meetup and allowing me to share my knowledge with you all. So, hi, I'm Praneeth Brahmbhatt. I'm a Mozillian. I've been contributing to Mozilla Gujarat and Mozilla India community for like past 1.5 years. Also, I'm a web developer. I create front end develop. I'm a front end developer, and also I'm a Flutter developer. So I create Flutter and Dart. Besides that, I'm also a content writer, and I write content, post blogs, and do branding. So that's what I do. Getting started with today's session. So first of all, I'd like to ask you what is open source, if anyone knows, like if you have any some idea about what is open source. I'd like to keep this session interactive one so that you can also answer me by turning on your mic, and then we can proceed further in the same way. If anyone wants to answer regarding what is open source or just a brief definition about it, then it's cool. Otherwise, I'll start. Okay, cool. So, first of all, whenever you hear the word open source, the very first thing that will come in your mind will be like free software, free application, and all. But it's like very vast subject than that. So, as you can see on my screen, that there is a picture representing a box, and two people are taking some things out of that box. So basically that is the code. So that box is like the major is like the primary software which is developed by some group of developers or a community that I can say. And anyone around the world, if that is a open source software, then they can use that software, distribute it, and collaborate on it. So uh, you can say that an open source software is a software that you can see, which is a transparent one, that you can see the code, what is happening actually behind the front end. You can modify that code as per your choice, the way you want to work. You can distribute that code. So when you when you have an open source software, when you purchase an open source software or when you download it, you can modify your code and redistribute it as per your choice, as per you want it. And also you can collaborate on an open source project, work with other fellow community members, and you can redistribute it. So that's how basically the open source term works. But there's more to it, that is license. So as I said, whenever you hear the word open source, you'll be like, it's a free software, because most of us know about Ubuntu, Linux, and all, and we are very much familiar with it, that it is freely available to anyone. So there's more to it. It's not completely free all the time. It depends on the distributor, whether he or she wants to keep the software free or not. And if or he or she wants to like sell it by keeping some price, then they can do that. So basically, the licensing works in this way that if there are numerous licenses like MIT license, GNU license, Apache license, and all. So the basic fundamental of an open source software is that it is available freely for anyone unless and until the seller puts some price on it. And based on the license, there are some restrictions that you cannot perform with that open source project or software that you have, that code. So if the license is strictly saying that you can use this software for free, but if you redistribute it after making some changes, after alternating the code or collaborating on it, then you need to sell that project further freely only. That you have to make that project available to other people that you have alternated in free of cost. So that's how licensing basically works in open source softwares. So you'll think that if anyone can see the code, alternate and make any changes in the code, then it is like very harmful, because anyone can alternate the code without having any prior knowledge about what the code base is, or if anyone, or if any some black hat hacker or some person like that who has some malicious intentions, then he or she can harm the code and can fetch data from the backend and can get the data of the users. But it's basically not works like that, because as the code is freely available to everyone, the community is always working on the code. Any some activities are seen, then they would immediately remove that activity. So yes, we can say that open source is very secure in that terms. Also, the other pros are peer review and support. So if you are working on any open source project or software, or you are developing your own open source project, and uh, if you are facing some issues, or are blocked by some challenges or something like that, then you can ask for the peer reviews and support from the community, as the open source community is always helpful and are always there to help you out if you face any issues or some technical challenges. So the peer review and support is always there for you. The transparency, as I said, that the code is available freely to everyone to take a look at it. What does the code actually works? How does it fetches data, and how does it keeps the data of the user? And you can see that it is not manipulated or being used in some bad ways. So yes, you can say that it is pretty transparent. The lower cost, as I said, that when you access some open source project or purchase it, then it again depends on the distributor whether he or she wants to keep any cost or not. Most of the open source projects are freely available to anyone, but if the vendor wants to keep any price, then he or she will keep very lower price on it, because as it is open source software and the licenses would be kept in that way. No vendor lock-in. So in closed source projects, there are issues with vendor lock-in. For example, if you have purchased some cloud services, okay, so the cloud services are always very costly. Like if you even spend like 10 to 20 minutes on a cloud deploying your application or something like that, then they will cost you hundreds of dollars. So when it comes to open source projects, there are no vendor lock-ins in the open source projects. You can shift to any other alternative software on your choice, because it is very freely available or available at a very low cost. So there is no monopoly of the vendor when it comes to open source projects. And security, as I said, that there is always constant reviewing going around the code by the community members and the developers. So there are like minimal chances of some harmful activities to be done with the code. Cons, as I say, that long-term costs. So if you are naive user and you don't know how the code thing works, what is the backend doing, or if you are not familiar with the code base that you have purchased or you are using, so like you can work with it as long as it suits you. But if any issue arrives, if any technical problem arises, then if you are not able to solve it on your own, then you have to ask for some support from either the company that you have, from which you have got the code. And So that might cost you, because the open source projects cost in the terms of services. The services are bit costly than the closed source projects, because it requires a lot of skills than the closed source projects, because they are freely available to the community and all. Security, as I said, that there are some security problems, like if someone put some malicious code into the code base, then it will start working immediately, and all your data will be fetched and might be used in some wrong manner. So there are some minor security problems, but those can be worked out with the help of the community developers. Usability. So if you are not familiar with the code base, and if you are a unskilled user, then you may find it a bit difficult to use it initially, but uh, slowly and gradually, if you get the hang of it, so you'll find it pretty easy to work with some open source software and project. So you might be thinking, where does Git and GitHub comes in whole this scenario? So Git is an open source software which is used for version controlling, and GitHub, I will say that GitHub is not open source. It is a product which managed by Microsoft. So GitHub is not open source. GitHub is a place where you can host your open source projects, where you can store your open source projects, and you can collaborate with other people to work on those projects. While Git is basically a version controlling system which provides you a tool which can help you doing all the version control through your projects. Like 5 to 4 people can work on same projects, and that is achievable with the help of Git. So starting with Git, and I would like to ask that I hope I'm not going too fast right now, and if you have any doubts until now. Okay, cool.
I guess
So
we'll
we can
continue. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll continue with Git right now. So what is Git? As I said, free and open source, Git is available freely to anyone, to any user to use it and to work on the projects. And it is open source, so you can change the code based on the Git on the way you want to work it. Distributed Git is a distributed platform. There are many other alternatives for Git, but people prefer Git more as it is distributed. So now basically, what does distributed means? So distributed means that you can work on one same project, collaborate in a collaboration with other community members, irrespective of the numbers of the members working on a project. So Git helps you achieve the term distribution, because it works in that manner that the environment is completely distributed among all the project holders. Branching and merging. So if you're working on an application, for an example, so if one person is working on one part of the application on the home page, the second person is working on some other part of the application, like the profile page, and so on. So Git allows you to create separate branches for all the different layers of your projects, and it allows you to merge those branches with the master branch, and you can do the version controlling through that. Git is very small and fast. It is very small to download, and it is really fast to use. It will like process your whole code, and your merging and pulling pulling the data from the master branch and merging it again to the master branch in a very few seconds, and it is really quick. Data assurance. Git is very secure in that terms, because it will always compress your data into 16-bit hash code, which always which the Git always shows you whenever you perform some commit. So whenever you perform a commit through Git, it will compress your whole commit, your whole code into 16-bit hash file, and then it will send those files to the your some platform which is hosting your repo, for example GitHub or Bitbucket or something like that. So Git is very secure in that terms, and staging area. So Git provides this staging area term where you can stage your whole commit. So when you commit some code, like if you have added your name in your portfolio website, so before directly committing it to the master branch, Git will first stage those changes, and then it will finally push those changes to the master branch or the branch you are working on. So that was Git, and now we'll start with GitHub. So there are some terminologies in GitHub which you want to get cleared first, so that you can understand what is GitHub and how does the UI of the GitHub works. So starting with the repository. So a repository is like a folder where all your files of a project are kept. So if you are working on some project, like if you are building your portfolio or something like that, then it will have all your CSS files or your HTML files, JS files, and all your bootstrap files. So you store all those files in one folder, and then you make a repository out of it. So that's what basically a repository means. Remote is a common repository that all the developers that are working on can use it to exchange their codes. So if there is a group of 5 developers, then they will use this remote repository to exchange all the codes among themselves. They will first make any changes in their local repository that is kept on their laptop or on their PC. They will then commit those changes and push those changes to their forked repository, and then they will send a pull request, which we will understand later that when I will show you the hands-on. A forked repo. So forking basically works in this way. If you want to work on some project, so you'll find that repo first. You will go through the repo. What does the repo basically is about? You will read the README file or description of the repo. Then if you feel like you are capable enough to work on that project, or if you would like to contribute to that project, then you simply just fork that repo first, so that GitHub creates a clone repo of that same repo under your name. So if there is a repo that I have made, GitHub verse, then it is registered under my name, Pranit. It is Pranit's repo. So if you wanted to work on that repo, then you just simply fork that repo, and it will be then registered under your name. So whenever you make any changes locally on that repo, and when you push those changes, then it will be first committed to your forked repo, and then you have to send a pull request to the remote repo to
Hey,
reflect
Pranit,
those
Pranit,
things. Yeah.
can you just repeat the merge section again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So as I said that if I have my own repo, like GitHub verse or GitHub project or something like that. So let me show you it with an example. So yeah, this is my repo right now. This is how the UI of GitHub basically looks like. So this is a repo GitHub verse. The name of the repo is GitHub verse. It is currently registered under my name. So and here is the option for forking. So whenever you fork the repo, create the same copy of this repo under your name. So instead of here pb10, which is my username, it will show your username and with the same name, GitHub verse. So that is what basically forking means. And whenever you work on your fork repo, you need to merge those changes with the remote repo, and for that you need to send a pull request, which is a PR, which I will explain later on. So after you fork a repo, so that repo will basically stay on your GitHub profile. It won't get downloaded on your local machine. So to make it work, you need to first clone that repo in your local machine, so that you can work on it on your machine, and you can code in it. So you need to first of all clone the repo to work on it, and that works from here. So you can clone it either by downloading the zip file of it, or you can use the GitHub desktop version, or you can simply copy the link over here and can clone that repo using the command line like git clone command, and then it will clone your repo. Pool. So like there are a lot of developers working on a repo on a project. So let's just say that there are currently 5 developers working on some same project. So if one developer creates some changes, those changes are valid, and then he puts those changes to the remote repo. So those changes will be stored in the main repository that is common among all the 5 developers. So now if I'm working on that same repo, I need to first pull all those changes that has been made by the previous developer. If I don't pull those changes won't be seen in my personal cloned repo on my machine. So in order to make this whole project version control, we need to first pull those changes to see that whether those changes are perfectly working on my machine too. And then we can continue alternating our code as per our choice, and then we push those changes again. So that how basically pull works. So you need to pull those changes first, and then you can push your changes so that no merge conflicts arise. Add. So after you make all your changes, you need to basically add those changes to your local machine. So if I'm working on my portfolio, so I make any changes in the index.html file. Just for an example, I added that up in my about section of my portfolio that I'm a web developer. So first I need to add those changes in my local machine. It won't directly be stored in the forked repo or in the remote repo. So I first need to store those changes in my clone repo, which is stored on my device. Then I will commit those changes, which will be stored permanently in my cloned repo, and then I will push those same changes to my forked repository. So this is how basically this is the workflow of how you contribute to a project or how you work on a project on GitHub. So you first fork the repo, then clone it, then pull any previous changes made. Then after you make some alternations or do some changes to your code, you first of all add those changes, then you commit them, and then you push those changes to your forked repository. After that, those changes will be stored in your forked repository and not your remote repository. So to make that work, you need to shoot a pull request, or you can say PR. So PR basically works like this. So if you have any made some changes in your forked repo, you need to shoot a PR to master repo to ask them that these are the changes that I have made, and you need to store those changes in the remote repo to make the master repo to keep the master repo updated. So you just shoot a PR to the master repo and just ask it that I have made those changes and please accept those changes. Then the reviewer or the holder of the repo, who is the owner of the repo, he or she will review those changes. If the changes are good for the repo, that if they are healthy changes, if there is not bad code or any such thing, then he or she will merge those changes. So after you shoot a PR, then comes the merge. So if there are no conflicts and all, then the merge will be done automatically, and it will be a healthy merge. And conflict. So if there are any conflicts, like if 2 developers are working on same project, so if if in some section I add that I am a developer, and in that same section if some other developer adds that I am an app developer, so like there are 2 changes made on the same location, but those 2 changes are completely different changes, because I have added that I am a web developer and the another person has added that I am an app developer. So there will be a conflict, which Git and GitHub will show that the conflict has arisen, and you need to solve that conflict in order to make it a healthy code, because there cannot be like, as I take an example in terms of physics, that a two-person cannot be located at one same person cannot be located at 2 different locations at the given point of time. So there cannot be 2 different changes at one single location at the same given time. So you have to pick either of the changes, whether you want it to keep it as I am a web developer, or whether you want it to keep it as an I am an app developer. So it depends on you which change you want to keep, and then you have to move ahead. And finally, issue. So if there are any issues in your current code base or in your repo, then we will just mention those issues over here. Like what are the issues? Basically, you will just publish an issue, and then any other contributor who wants to contribute to this repo or this project, he or she will first of all look at those issues. If he or she thinks that he or she is capable enough to work out that issue, then they will work on that issue and will solve that issue. So that's basically the UI of GitHub, how it works. And now I'll show you a small hands-on on how this whole actually thing works, which I have just explained. So as I said that this is my repo right now. So I'll first of all clone this repo. So to clone a repo, this is the command git clone and then the link of the repo. So once I press enter, it will be cloned in the F drive of my laptop. So here is my clone repo and it has been created in the F drive. So as you can see here, the README files shows that's getting started with GitHub. This is a repo created for beginners to learn and understand how to start contributing to open source using Git and GitHub. So here there is a README file which will show the same thing in Notepad file. So that's how cloning works. So now if I want to make any change in my repository, so I'll just make some changes in those readme.md files. But first of all, let me explain you what is branching and all. So first of all, I need to get into my repo, my cloned repo. So I'll change the directory to GitHub. Then I will create a branch on which I will work on. So to create a branch, this is the command, and we'll name the branch as a test. So switch to a new branch test, and just to confirm it, we'll run a git status command which will show us that we are on the branch test and there is nothing to commit because the working tree is clean and nothing has been committed yet. So I'll just make some changes right over here now. And I'll add this in my readme.md file. So I have copy pasted that code, and now first of all I need to add that code on my local machine. So the code has been added, and now I have to commit git commit and some message that I want to add. So contributors section added. Okay. here I'll add the message that I want to show on my commit, that what I have committed. So as a good contributor, it is so you should practice that your commit message should be explainable. It should show what have you actually committed, so that the reviewer can know easily that what is in the commit, and he or she can review it easily. So I'll add contributor section. So this is my commit. As I said that it has been compressed to 16-bit hash file. So this is the ID that has been given to my commit, F6602BE, and contributor section added, 1 file change and 12 insertions. So after committing, I'll push it to my remote repo. So yes, so we have pushed all these changes to the branch test. So here we can see that test had recent pushes less than a minute ago. So here there was only a master branch initially. So now it will have a test branch here. So if you have observed, then in the master branch, there is still these initial changes that have been made when the repo was created. There is no contributor section right now. But when you switch on to the test branch, so we have just committed recently, we have just pushed those changes. So you will be able to see that I have added this contributor section. So now to reflect these changes in the master branch, because the master branch is considered to be the stable branch on which all the repos are hosted. So you will simply just compare and shoot a pull request to the master branch. So you have to add a message in your as your pull request. So you add contributor section added. I have added that message, and I just simply create a pull request. As of right now, it's a very small commit, so I don't need to add any comment right now. So yes, the pull request has been made. As there are no any merge conflicts or anything, it is showing that this branch has no conflicts with the base branch, and merging can be performed automatically. Now, as I am myself the owner of this repo, so I can merge this pull request at my own will. But if you're working on someone else's repo, then you need to shoot a pull request, and then the owner of that repo will confirm your merge, will accept your pull request. So once I have accepted that request, now as you can see that this is the master branch currently, and those changes will be now reflected in the master branch too. So that's how it works. That's the basic fundamental about Git and GitHub. These are some resources. I will share my PPT at the end of the session. So if you need any help, if you have any queries, then you can ask me right now. You can even contact me on my Twitter or Instagram handles, and you can also go through these links if you have any query about that. So thank you. That was all.
So we'll move forward if no one has any doubts or questions. Let me see if someone has any doubts or questions. Okay, I guess that was the last doubt. So moving forward to the next talk by Vineet on UX and UI. Vineet, yeah, is already presenting.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Vinit Bist. I am pursuing my bachelor degree of BCA from Navratna University. I'm more into UI designing, illustrations, and graphics. So this is my first talk. It on a topic which I'm more fond of, which is designing. So these are the topic I've covered so far: design, digital design, UI, UX. Then we go for graphic design, illustration, graphic illustrations, and at the last, the process of creativity. So let's start with what is design? If anyone have to answer the question, what is design?
Vinit, before you go ahead, Vinit, before you move ahead, can you please increase your volume?
Hello,
Uh,
hello, am I
Little
audible?
bit more.
Hello,
Yeah, like other thing is that I'm not able to hear you, and so is so like others, I guess.
if, wait a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hello, am I audible now? Hello,
Uh, uh, yeah, like you can
Yeah,
you can move
yeah,
ahead.
you can continue, I guess. Yeah.
hello, hello.
Yes, Vinit, you can continue.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So let me explain the design. Design is a work. It's an ongoing process. Everything around us is design. Let's go with an example. When you wake up in the morning and go for a coffee mug, that coffee mug is a design. Then you go pick up your brush, that brush is also a design. Everything around us is design. Even the house we are living in is also a design. But every designer has its own perspective. That coffee mug brush is a product which comes under product design. The wall, the colors, the house we are living in, the curtains are interior design. The car vehicles which we are riding is automotive design. So by this we catch the point that design is all around us. And today जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो है of digital design. So I did a bit research to find the exact meaning of digital design. So yeah, we got this. Digital design refers to what is created and produced for viewing on a screen. Yeah, it's correct. But it is not simple as it is. There are a lot of aspects of digital designing too. But before that, who creates it? Who creates the design? Simple. The designer creates the design. But that's the only thing they do? No. So what else they do?
Yeah.
They think, they wonder about the meaning of the things. There are thousands of the thoughts. Whatever they think, they try to design it in an easier way that others also can understand,
The net connected.
but in a visual manner. Yes, they too got confused by the thoughts going on in the mind. They got messed up by the shapes, structures, and color. But they still keeps on design. Same, the artists do. The artist also keeps on creating and making something. So are the designer and the artist are same? No. The art tries to reveal the world of the artist. Design try to help others with their world. There's a bit difference between them. The artist does not work for someone. They work for themselves. They express themselves through their art, whereas the designer makes complicated information simpler and easy to understand to others by their amazing skills. Okay, so here we got to know about the artist and the designer. Let's move on to the types of the designer. There are many types of designing till today, but still, some of the major types of design I've covered here. Today, let's have a look at it. And the first is the UI UX. UI is user interface, and UX is user experience. We call them together, but there's a bit difference between them. As we say, in the context of UI UX, UI is a part of UX. So first, let's have a look at user experience UX. For many people, design words associates to the things that are related to colors, graphics, creativity. Yes, UX design also include this, but focuses more on knowing who the target customers are and how to make their experience with your product the most rewarding or delightful it can be. Is the responsibility of the UX design team. As such, functionality, usability, and user adaptability ranks high in their priorities of the product. let's make it more simple. Designers are generally focused on development of digital products. It is a whole process which aims in making the application easy to use by the user. It covers some aspects. Let's go with that. Which is the first one is journey map. Journey map is how a user start and finish their experience. It's like first comes to the sign up page. After user signed in, application will display a home page. After home, if user clicks on search bar, which page comes and all like that. It's like what come first and next. The next one is brainstorming. So here comes the group discussion, where the user flows, wireframes, designs, and are to be discussed. So, first, what is wireframe? Wireframe is a skeleton of a design. It means where to keep the icon and how the app size and all would be. It's like a rough figure of the UI design. Next one is prototype. Prototype is like the first version of a device. We can say a basic design in which the development and changes would be done as per the requirement of the design team and all. Then after testing comes testing. We can say it's like a hypothesis, like what the team expected from the user and what they get. So as per that, they can change or make some upgrades in the design and or like that. That's all for the UX part. We will go for the UX process in the next slide. First, let's learn about it. Know something about the user interface.
Uh,
I'll go with an example. Two examples there are. The first one is there are many surveys between Apple and Samsung phones, and we know Apple phones broke the tie and had a win. The reason people say that why they choose Apple over Samsung phones is like it is way easy to use for them. Uh, So I will go for the next go for the topic in this, the intuitive one. Let's go with another example first. Uh, a plane flies with its engine and all of its functionalities. But then also why a layman cannot fly an airplane. That's where the UI works. Pilots are the specially trained and had experience to fly an airplane. The layman cannot do the same because of lack of intuitive of the plane. So now the intuitive means the design which could be understand easily. The UI designer works on the intuitive first. User interface designer makes technology easy and intuitive for the people to use. User interface designer work on areas where user directly interact with the product. UI2 carries some of the aspects. First is the colors. Colors is like the basic color used in application, as we all know. In WhatsApp, there are two colors, uh, green and white. And in Facebook, there are two colors too, white and blue. So as per that logo color, basic color, the whole application are made, and the whole UI of the application is to be made. The second one is graphics. The graphics which used to communicate with user effectively. We will know more about the graphic in the further slides. Next one is intuitive. Intuitive, as we all know, intuitive, the user understand its effect and behavior without any training. Elements, elements are like buttons, search bar, icons, etc. Uh, then comes prototypes, a connection we can say between a UI UX. With we have seen this in UX2. We will go for it in a further slide. And at the last is illustration. Illustration, we can say it's an art, digital art, which makes the application more creative. So let's go for the UI as a part of UX. So UX is a big process, and UI is a part of it. I try to display here the basic step of a UX designer took for its design. So we'll start with the first step, which is research, which is UX research methods, which include face-to-face interviews, user surveys, and questionnaires, and all the methods from which design would be better in. The second one is brainstorming. Uh, Here, brainstorming means uh, the whole group discussion where everyone put their own opinion towards the design, because it is the only thing that company will communicate with their users. Big decision took place, and the final design is to be finalized here. The next is prototyping. As I said, the base of the design here. Some changes are made and implementation of prototypes done here. The UI designer connect here. The UI designer works here, make prototype better and intuitive, so it becomes easier to understand for the user. At last, the hypothesis, the testing of the whole project took place, where they measure their assumption with the outcomes, how the application did and affect the user. So this is how UI and UX work together. You might be wondering if one is more important than other, but the reality is they both are important. Okay, UX design is all about overall feel of an experience, while UI design is all about how product interfaces look and function. Okay, so this one is the evolution of Android UI on Android home screen. We see a lot of changes done in UI of the home screen of Android till today. At first, there's a transparent Google search bar, and between the basic applications and other applications, there's a little line you can see. Also, you can see a black color bar at the top where network icons and the battery indicators are to be displayed. But after some time, they remove the top bar, make it transparent. They also removed the line between the applications and replace it with the tiny dots. The Google bar, उसकी opacity जो थी उसको बढ़ा दी. Then after that, more changes are made. The style of the buttons, the search bar is now clearly visible, and then uh, the dots are to be little bit enlarged of the menu, and then they want to display the weather. Okay, the weather, the time. So they place search bar at the bottom and fill the buttons with white color. There's a big change. Then there's a big change. The buttons are removed, and the trend of the full screen display came into existence. That's how the UI changes. It keeps on evolving. Here they use hypotheses too. User do not use the Google search bar more often because it was transparent and they can't see it more of the time. That's the reason they make it more visible so the user could easily use it. And yeah, we don't know what will be the UI in the future, but things which I know is it will be better, it will be more intuitive, more easy to use. Okay, so that's all for the part of the UI and UX. Let's move on to the graphic design. Okay, so graphic design is all about the communication design, or we can say a visual communication. And the invisible man in the chain of visual communication is a graphic designer. अगर कोई कंपनी को कोई प्रोडक्ट या ब्रांड चालू करती है, तो उसको उसकी पहले विजुअल आइडेंटिटी बनाना पड़ता है, उसको पब्लिक को ऑडियंस को दिखाना पड़ता है. जब हमने मॉज एनयूवी का सेटअप किया था, तब उसकी पहली विजुअल आइडेंटिटी उसका लोगो था. बट बाद में जब उसका मीटअप रखना था, तब सब कुछ रेडी हो गया था, बट हाउ टू रीच द ऑडियंस इम्पोर्टेंट है. सिर्फ एक बड़ा सा ब्लैंक पेपर में हम उनको टेक्स्ट ब्लैक कलर के फॉन्ट्स में टेक्स्ट तो नहीं लिख के दे सकते कि ये टाइम पे मीटअप आ जाओ. So there we need the designer to communicate to the audience. So designer do their job well. We all see the message clearly, but not the messenger. If the audience get the message clear as expected, the designer did the great job. Anywhere, anywhere you need the help
कॉफी ले आ गई.
with information is where you will find the design, the graphic design. Graphic
कॉफी ले आ गई हमारा आ गया था तो.
designs.
आओ आओ please.
Graphic are all about the lines, color, shape, typography. Yes, typography is the main part of it. Whereas design is thinking problem solving, and practicality. Graphic is are used to convey the ideas. Okay, they are like a building blocks of a design. Whereas the design look upon the look and function, look upon the look, how the design looks, how the product or the object will look before it's made, before it's finalized. So the graphic design is like an organization and presentation of information developed through a creative process. Okay, so that's all for the graphic design. Let's move on to the illustration. Using illustration and words together allow to communicate abstract and complex concepts or ideas. The illustrations is like a pure creativity. So here you can see illustration I took from a book cover of Abstract City, a book by Christoph Niemann. What he's doing here is making something or creating and thinking. That's what the designer, the illustrator, do. And a little creativity you see here is in spite of using ink pen, he took an image of the building and put it upside down, so it looked like pen. This is the creativity. Okay, this is the creativity. If you want to express an idea which is hard to describe and explain, illustration can be a great help. It is a fact that human brain function in such a way that it it receives visual information fully, quickly, and holds it for a longer time. From ancient era, yes, illustration are from very ancient time. Here you can see the art by a privileged man to display his daily routine and draw it using some stone or anything. I can't say. After the evolution, after that evolution of the illustration takes place. Many moments take place during the World War I and II, and this is the era when many illustration artists got famous. Know about I think you know about the Picasso, Pablo. I think anyone? No. Anyways, the today era of the digital illustration took place, which is literally changes everything. Illustration can be utilized to draw attention to certain information. It is something a person uh, sees first, even before reading the text which is next to the illustration. Then what the text written next to the illustration? They are the graphics. And here we come on the graphic illustration. It's nothing but illustration many designers using today is graphic illustration, which is the combination of both graphic design and illustration. Graphic illustration keep creative expression at the forefront while making sure to add the marketing strategy, design elements. Graphic illustrators require both skill and creativity. Skill for graphics design and also for illustration and creativity for both too. Thinking necessary to communicate abstract concepts simply and effectively. So here are some example of the graphic illustration where the illustration art is drawn related to the product with the name and some information of the product जो graphic designing में आता है, but which it seems very precise and easy and creative too. Here you can see one brand free range of eggs. It becomes pretty obvious that it will be the product something related to eggs. Okay, as we can see the chickens in the farm, it become pretty much obvious as they are not gonna put chicken in some paper box. Okay, so it's obvious that it make audience to understand it easily. Okay, so that's all for the illustration. It's more on for the process of creativity. Okay, so this is a bit off topic, but I think everybody would know this. This is a type of a journey map of a creator. So before making something we think about it, we think that yeah, it will be awesome for me. But after some time spending on it or creating it, we think to wait. Uh, this is a bit tricky. then it will suck that man, nothing is creative coming out. Then what, you will get frustrated, okay, a bit, but still keeps on creating, still keeps on playing with the colors, the shapes, and at last something work out. And yes, it will work out, and you make it more special, and it becomes awesome. When I was making my first logo, I thought that without any experience, how can I make it good? But that's the way you and I and everyone start it and end it up as the awesome. Yeah, it works like that. But the good part about the creativity is that when you create it now, that was made by you and only you. No one has their stamp on it. Only it is made by you. Once designers said that the designers are the only one who really understand the people. Somewhere they are the real people. According to me, the designer sees the world in meaningful manner. Okay, they try to find meaning in everything, and the worst thing you could say to the designer is, "Hey, can you make it pretty better?" For me, pretty is an adjective word, and as I said, design is a verb. This is a quote by Paul Rand. Everything is design. Everything. For a company, design is investment. For a layman, design is a way to understand information in the easy way. And for the designer, designing is everything and everywhere. Okay, so that's all on my side. Thank you. If anyone have any doubts on this, on
Hey
the
Vinny, that was such a wonderful talk you gave. Let's see if our members have some questions for you.
yes, yes.
Uh, so Jeet Shah had a question: which UI framework is best for web application development?
Okay, so for web application, okay, web application development is a different thing, but the uh, web application designing is different thing. Okay, for web application designing, UI and UX is the best thing. UI UX, like we can say softwares come for the UI UX, so which are Adobe XD, Figma. These are the two software which are in major use. So yes, you can use it for the web design.
Yeah, cool. Do we have more doubts here? Okay, so I guess okay, I should proceed. I guess so. So yeah, I guess that's so yeah, I guess that's all. Uh, so moving forward, so yeah, I guess you all had fun, but let's make it more interesting for y'all. Every community should have a communication platform, right? So MozNUV took a different approach to this. We have made a Discord server as our default communication platform. So on the count of one, two, three, you'll get mails. Yeah, I guess you guys have received a mail. In the mail, we have mentioned a Discord link. Please join in. I'll just share my screen and show you and brief you how the Discord works. Okay, just a second. Uh, yeah, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, cool. So guys, if you have logged in into Discord, like click the link. You can see the welcome channel and rules channel. So you just have to read all the rules and just click on the tick mark here. You'll be assigned a role of member, and you'll be a part of MozNUV server. And if you have any doubts regarding the server, you want to ask questions, why do we have a server? You can ask it in your help. Also, we have something like if someone's bullying you in the server or something, you can just type in save. Here, here. You can just type in save, and yeah, you can directly talk to us. A message would be sent by us to you. So yeah, this is it. So just come in the channel and we'll have a nice talk. Okay, I guess I'll stop presenting. So thank you all. I guess everything's done. If anyone has doubts, please post in the channel. We'll answer you. Thank you.